this is Allie Edwards, and in this quick video I just want to give you an overview of Project Life for February and March 2020. If you're watching this in real time, I'm recording it in mid-June. Obviously, I'm going back in time to tell these stories. I completed January back in February, and then kind of as the world unraveled, I guess you could say, my attention turned elsewhere to other projects, kid-related things, all of the stuff. So I'm finally making some space to be able to go back in and tell these stories. And my approach here is to do it in a very clean and simple way. With Project Life, especially doing it monthly, I have zero intention of including all of the photos that I took over the course of the month. And you're going to see that here as well. Let's go ahead and just talk about February first. I have a blog post up on my blog that shows close-up images of this spread if you're interested in checking that out. It also has a layered PSD file that is a 3x4 size if you wanted to create something like this for yourself. Again, I'm using a 9x12 album this year, 9x12 page protectors, and these are 3x4 pockets. I am also varying the page protectors I use, so I'm not using the same ones every month. Sometimes it's a full page one. There's usually inserts. Sometimes it's this one. It's just a mix. So for February, what I decided to do is I looked back in my photo archives and I simply identified things that I wanted to remember from the month of February, kind of the pre-unraveling month, as it may be called. And so I just picked out photos. I did all of this in Photoshop, so I was able to place my photo using the layer template. And then I used the prompt remembering. So each one of these photos is remembering with a little bit of journaling added on with it. For Project Life this year, I'm mainly using components from the Stories by the Month subscription that we have. We do have these available digitally as well, and I'll link those below. So the main spread here incorporates these two, right, across here. So I added in quote cards that were from the February kit and then additional photos that just highlighted different things that were happening over the course of the month. In addition to those, I decided to add a 6x12 insert. Also, this is put together in Photoshop. This is a picture that I had posted on Instagram, and the text from the Instagram post talking about Simon, me watching Simon go out to his car, get the ice off his car, just kind of, the journey of life with Simon, and then added in a photo of him. He was going to a dance that had a Western theme. I added a chipboard piece on there. I've got the Avery Index tab along the side. This was one of the stamps that was on the February stamp set. On the back, I went ahead and just did a full page 6x12 photo there. February was also the month that I did the Pieces of Us project, and I believe that I have a video of that here on YouTube as well as blog posts on my blog. So that was a look at February. I felt like that was good. And then today I decided to do March, and March was such an interesting month. And the way that I started the process of putting this one together, again, there's not a ton, right? There's not a ton of photos. I'm just deciding to capture it in a little bit of a different way, I guess. So with this one, I decided to do the writing first because I wanted to kind of think back, what did March mean to us? March was the time when the stay-at-home order went into place, the time when the schools closed, when everything closed. So I took one of the journal cards that was in this kit and used the digital version, enlarged it to 6x12, and then just started typing. So this was also done in Photoshop. It goes on to the back side here. So highlighting some of the things that were going on related to coronavirus, related to things shutting down. Simon was also sick during this time, and that was right at the time when things were shutting down. So we had a lot of fears related to that. So I talk about that in there. On the bottom, I added one of the cards from the March Stories by the Month kit. And then you can see here in my spread, what I decided to do was take one of the cards, the Remember This, Bring on the Details card, and I ended up up using the digital version so that I could just type my journaling right onto the card and then print it out. And I'm printing it out on photo paper. That's often the way that I like to do it. And I picked out some specific memories or some specific things that I wanted to remember. Some of them are related to things that I wrote about in here. I had taken a picture of myself driving Simon's car because he has this awesome Chewbacca seatbelt, so I wrote a little bit about that. I wrote a little bit about Anna. They had a Wizard of Oz play. They only got to do one performance of the play because it was the night before the shutdown went into effect. Here where we live, I talked a little bit about flowers, and I had ordered some flowers, and there's more of that story in here. Simon having to take him to urgent care. He ended up testing positive for flu A and negative for coronavirus, but this was at the time when the tests were really hard to come by, and it was kind of, there was a story related to that anyway. And then another story about how once everything shut down, like trying to look for the good in it and find gratitude where I could, and kind of celebrate the fact that it was a Wednesday and we could make pancakes because nobody was going anywhere. So that's kind of how I decided to represent the month with just a few images, right? I think it's a nice reminder. Sometimes we feel like, oh, if I'm doing Project Life, that must mean I have to include every single photo that I took, or I need to include every single story. And I just don't think that's the case. A couple other things that you can see here, I'm using, again, cards. The other cards are from the March Stories by the Month kit. I also added on these metal hearts. These were an add-on available this month, actually. And I just added those onto the pictures and then tucked them into the pockets there. They have adhesive on the back of them. Here on the Avery Index tab, I used just a portion of this stamp right here from the March stamp set, and I'm gonna call that good for March. A couple other things though that I did want to mention related to March. Let's see if I can find this. One of them was that I started a Art of Noticing notebook for coronavirus, and I think that what I'm going to do is just make a pocket in here potentially. I'm not sure yet. It's kind of thick. I have some thicker things in there, but I was kind of considering just having a pocket, and I could easily do that. Let's see. I don't know how thick the whole album is going to be in the end, so I have a little bit of hesitation, but I kind of like the idea that, you know, additional stories related to the month of March, and you know, more writing in real time, right? Because I was writing things down right here. I believe that I have a blog post and a video up about how I put this together as well. Just a few things here. Again, more in the moment. That ends up stopping right there. I didn't do any more. I probably could cut some of these pages out, but I'm kind of thinking that I might just leave it. These kit envelopes that our story kits come in, this is a good way that I could incorporate it in there. I could cut some pockets. I could also put it on the inside, which is another something that I've done in the past. Anyway, I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to include it, but I kind of do because I like the stories fit with March, and I like the idea of it having a home here. So we'll see. I'm not sure. The other thing that I am considering adding in here is Persnickety Prints has timelines for coronavirus available to download on their site, and it is mainly worldwide statistics, kind of as things happened, and the dates, specific dates, and they have them for each month. I don't think that I'm going to add them in for the other months, but I was considering adding it in for March, and I think that I am going to do that. So I will create a pocket that can hold that. It is sized like 4.5 by 8.5, which is basically a traveler's notebook size, so you could put it in there if you wanted to. And that's actually, maybe that's just what I'll do, is I'll stick it in here and then consider how I could stick the whole thing in here. Again, you're getting a little bit of just me talking about some of the extra stuff, but at least for March as it is, I'm just going to leave it like this. This is good enough for capturing at least the overarching kind of themes that were coming up for us during the month of March. It's such a weird month when you look back on it, or when I look back on it. it changed, you know, everything changed at that point in time. So that's a little bit why I wanted to write out more than maybe I would have in the past, and less photos also because I think I took less photos at that point in time. So that's a look at February and March. I'm going to keep working and I will share here as I complete additional months.